Lesson 7. Spiders, stay, nose, crawls, beck. To beckon is to wiggle your finger to get someone to come towards you. Goes, speck is a small spot, like a speck of dirt. Dot, the bottom line. Shoes, spread, believe, and the right hand column. Tickling, neck, secret, legs, ope, which is poetry for open, toes, choose, nod. To nod is to move your head backwards and forwards, like when you're moving it backwards and forwards to say yes. 6. Baby bye. Number 1. Baby bye, here's a fly. We will watch him, you and I, how he crawls up the walls, yet he never falls. I believe with 6 such legs you and I could walk on eggs. There he goes, on his toes, tickling baby's nose. 2. Spots of red dot his head. Rainbows on his back are spread. That small speck is his neck. See him nod and beck. I can show you, if you choose, where to look to find his shoes. 3 small pairs, made of hairs. These he always wears. 3. Flies can see more than we, so how bright their eyes must be. Little fly, ope your eye. Spiders are nearby. For a secret I can tell, spiders never use flies well. Then away, do not stay. Little fly, good day. So that line, spiders never use flies well, means spiders never treat flies well. In other words, they eat them. And see him nod and beck in stanza 2 means see him nod his head backwards and forwards and wiggle his finger, beckoning. Lesson 8. Servant, longer, lived, since, suddenly, returned, tired. 5. Attic. The attic is the top part of the house, under the roof. Great. Coal. Anxious. Anxious means worried. Trouble. Certain. Nearly. Dozen. A dozen are 12. 7. Strange. Proper. Seemed. Puss and her kittens. 1. Puss, with her 3 kittens, had lived in the coal cellar. But one day she thought she would carry them to the attic. 2. The servant thought that was not the proper place for them, so she carried them back to the cellar. 3. Puss was certain that she wanted them in the attic, so she carried them there again and again. 5, 6, 7, yes, a dozen times. For each time the servant took them back to the cellar. 4. Poor Puss was nearly tired out and could carry them no longer. 5. Suddenly she went away. Where do you think she went? 6. She was gone a long time. When she returned, she had a strange cat with her that we had never seen before. 7. She seemed to tell him all about her great trouble, and he listened to her story. 8. Then the strange cat took the little kittens, one by one, and carried them to the attic. After this he went away, and we have never seen him since. 9. The servant then left the kittens in the attic, for she saw how anxious Puss was to have them stay there. 10. Was not the strange cat kind to puss? This lesson should teach children to be ever ready to help one another. Lesson 9. 9. Fro. So to and fro means backwards and forwards. Bit. Mousey. That's a little mouse. Frolic. To frolic is to dance around and jump around and have a good time. Frolic. Slipped. Spied. To spy is to peep. Crow. It's a black bird. A big black bird. Teeth. Pearl. Used. Kitty and mouse. 1. Once there was a little kitty, white as the snow. In a barn he used to frolic, long time ago. 2. In the barn a little mousie ran to and fro, for she heard the little kitty, long time ago. 3. 2 black eyes had little kitty, black as a crow, and they spied the little mousie, long time ago. 4. 4 soft paws had little kitty, paws soft as snow, and they caught the little mousie, long time ago. 9 pearl teeth had little kitty, all in a row, and they bit the little mousie, long time ago. When the teeth bit little mousie, Mousie cried out, "Oh!" but she slipped away from kitty, long time ago. Lesson 10. Washed. Harm. To harm someone is to hurt them. Ours. Any. Precious. Brushed. Game. End. At work. A little play does not harm anyone, but does much good. After play, we should be glad to work. 2. I knew a boy who liked a good game very much. He could run, swim, jump, and play ball, and was always merry when out of school. 3. But he knew that time is not all for play, that our hours, that our minutes, hours and days are very precious. 4. At the end of his play, he would go home. After he had washed his face and hands and brushed his hair, he would help his mother, or read in his book, or write upon his slate. 5. He used to say, "One thing at a time." When he had done with work, he would play, but he did not try to play and to work at the same time. Lesson 11. Twit-twee, that's a sound a bird makes. Bough, that's a branch of a tree, a bough. Twit-twit, another sound that a bird makes. Topmost, that's the one at the very top of the tree. Spray, a spray is a branch covered in leaves. Closely. Answer. Lock. Mate. Rosy. What a bird taught. Why do you come to my apple tree, little bird so grey? Twit twit, twit twit, twit twit twee. That was all he would say. Why do you lock your rosy feet so closely round the spray? Twit twit, twit twit, twit tweet. That was all he would say. Why, on the topmost bough do you get, little bird so grey? Twit twit twee, twit twit twit. That was all he would say. Where is your mate? Come answer me, little bird so grey. Twit twit, twit twee. That was all he would say. Lesson 12. brightness, playmates, questions, sunbeam, gladness, pleasant, unkind, smiling, cheered, unless, learned, ragged. Ragged means that your clothes are all torn, you're a mess. Crowed, that's the sound that a bird makes, a crow makes. Susie, name, dress, word, child, gave, gate. Susie Sunbeam. 1. Susie Sunbeam was not her real name. That was Susan Brown. But everyone called her Susie Sunbeam because she had such a sweet, smiling face and always brought brightness with her when she came. 2. Her grandfather first gave her this name, and it seemed to fit the little girl so nicely that soon it took the place of her own. 3. Even when a baby, Susie laughed and crowed from morning till night. No one ever heard her cry unless she was sick or hurt. 4. When she had learned to walk, she loved to go about the house and get things for her mother, and in this way save her as many steps as she could. 5. She would sit by her mother's side for an hour at a time and ask her ever so many questions, or she would take her new book and read. 6. Susie was always pleasant in her play with other children. She never used an unkind word, but tried to do whatever would please her playmates best. 7. One day, a poor little girl with a very ragged dress was going by, and Susie heard some children teasing her and making fun of her. 8. She at once ran out to the gate and asked the poor little girl to come in. "What are you crying for?" Susie asked. 9. "Because they all laugh at me," she said. 10. Then Susie took the little girl into the house. She cheered her up with kind words and gave her a nice dress and a pair of shoes. 11. This brought real joy and gladness to the poor child, and she, too, thought that Susie was rightly called Sunbeam. Lesson 13. Woodlands, that's the places where trees grow. Drooping, that means to hang down, like on a hot day, the plants, their leaves droop down. Upward, heaven. Divine, divine means to do with the angels or God. Blessed, also the same thing. Hovels are nasty little houses that poor people live in. Hearts, roaming. Roaming means wandering around from place to place. Raised means to be brought up. Whose, inner, on the inside. Lilies are flowers, usually white ones. They grow in a damp place. They're quite pretty. Until. Seek, to seek is to look for. Steal, die. If I were a sunbeam. If I were a sunbeam, I know what I'd do. I would seek white lilies, roaming woodlands through. I would steal among them. That means I would sneak among them. I would steal among them. Softest light I'd shed, until every lily raised its drooping head. If I were a sunbeam, I know where I'd go, into lowly hovels, dark with want and woe. That means dark with need and sadness, and lowly means poor. Into lowly hovels, dark with want and woe, till sad hearts looked upward. I would shine and shine, then they'd think of heaven, their sweet home and mine. Are you not a sunbeam, child, whose life is glad, with an inner brightness sunshine never had? Oh, as God has blessed you, scatter light divine, for there is no sunbeam but must die or shine. And to scatter is to send flying in all different directions. Scatter light divine. Lesson 14. Support. Belong. Manage. Taught. Corner. Notice. Money. Blacking. Blacking is shoe polish. Gentlemen. Honest. Along. Dollar. At the very bottom. Quite. Top again. Boots. Years. Back to the bottom. Buy. Earned. Henry the boot black. A boot black is somebody who sits in the street and polishes shoes for a living. 1. Henry was a kind, good boy. His father was dead, and his mother was very poor. He had a little sister about 2 years old. 2. He wanted to help his mother, for she could not always earn enough to buy food for her little family. 3. One day, a man gave him $1 for finding a pocketbook which he had lost. 4. Henry might have kept all the money, for no one saw him when he found it. But his mother had taught him to be honest, and never to keep what did not belong to him. 5. With the $1, he bought a box, 3 brushes, and some blacking. Blacking is shoe polish. He then went to the corner of the street and said to everyone whose boots did not look nice, "Black your boots, sir, please." 6. He was so polite that gentlemen soon began to notice him and to let him black their boots. The first day he brought home 50 cents, which he gave to his mother to buy food with. 7. When he gave her the money, she said, as she dropped a tear of joy, "You are a dear, good boy, Henry. I did not know how I could earn enough to buy bread with, but now I think we can manage to get along quite well." 8. Henry worked all the day and went to school in the evening. He earned almost enough to support his mother and his little sister. Lesson 15. Tread. Right? To tread is to walk or to step. To put your foot down, to tread. Talk. Whisper is to talk very softly. Cheerful is happy. Softly. Careful. Don't wake the baby. Baby sleeps. So we must tread softly round her little bed, and be careful that our toys do not fall and make a noise. We must not talk, but whisper low. Mother wants to work, we know, that when father comes to tea, all may neat and cheerful be. Lesson 16. Full, slip, load, wrong, heavy, handle, middle, brother, heavier, deceived. Deceived means that you are tricked. A kind brother. 1. A boy was once sent from home to take a basket of things to his grandmother. 2. The basket was so full that it was very heavy, so his little brother went with him to help carry the load. 3. They put a pole under the handle of the basket, and each of them took hold of an end of the pole. In this way, they could carry the basket very nicely. 4. Now the older boy thought, "My brother Tom does not know about this pole." 5. If I slip the basket near him, his side will be heavy and mine light. But if the basket is in the middle of the pole, it will be as heavy for me as it is for him. 6. Tom does not know this as I do, but I will not do it. It would be wrong, and I will not do what is wrong. 7. Then he slipped the basket quite near his own end of the pole. His load was now heavier than that of his little brother. 8. Yet he was happy, for he felt that he had done right. Had he deceived his brother, he would not have felt at all happy.